Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Ramona, California, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily spiritual podcast. I'm your host, Raghunath, with co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kaustubha Das. Welcome to the show. This is episode 1385. It's a Walk on Wednesday, actually. But before we bring on our special guest, first of all, Walk on Wednesday is when we bring on a special guest for 10 or 15 minutes, pick their brain. They're doing something interesting with their life. Before we bring on our guest, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good.
We went to Ben and Esther's yesterday. Had an incredible vegan delight. Vegan delights, right, Mara? What'd you get?
Oh boy, I got they had a special that was like a Kali Club sandwich. That was amazing. And I had a gluten-free vegan peanut butter brownie for dessert.
Yeah. I had a vegan chicken salad. And I had a
You don't have to keep saying vegan. Oh, I guess you do, because it just sounds bad to say chicken salad.
Chicken salad sounds bad.
Right, okay.
Even when I'm in there, I was like, "Are you sure this is chicken? It's not chicken, right?" But I had this sandwich
Chicken salad.
The Lizzo, it's called, because Lizzo, the singer, ate it or made it. So it's got the fake egg on there, which is very good, and the fake bacon and the fake cheese, and the whole thing is fake, and I loved it. It's like eating a rubber chicken. Remember the rubber chickens you could buy as prank chickens?
I do.
No, it was great. And it's great. It's a little vegan junk food. I'll say it. But sometimes you need a little vegan junk food in your life just to. We were looking forward to it. And Mara's a chef, so she's very interested in stuff like this too. And they did a great job. They had like all stuff you get in a Jewish deli in New York, like a black and white arugula. Is that what it's called? Arugula? Rucola. What else? Egg salad, potato salad.
That cheesecake. That cheesecake looked pretty
Incredible cheesecake.
Yeah,
but it was vegan. Okay.
Thanks for sharing that, Ruben.
That's just thought I'd share that.
That's available. Where there are two Ben and Esther's?
Two locations now. There's one in San Diego. And there's one in Portland, Oregon. So if you're down
vegan, Jewish delicatessen food.
Yeah, Ben and Esther's. So if you're in those areas, please check them out, support them.
And
it's offered to Lord Krishna.
Yeah,
that's exciting. Not having to offer your food; it's already offered.
Okay.
All right.
We're organized like at the end of the LA
You're not
trip.
usually at a loss for words.
He's wearing down.
All right. For announcements, we have a Bhakti Recovery meeting at 1:30 Eastern time today. And there's a men's only meeting today at 10:30 a.m. Also, we've launched our new online community platform. So as a supporting member, you can find chat, classes, merchandise, upcoming events, retreat registration, and more all in one place. So it's community supported, and we're grateful to everyone who subscribes so we can continue to dedicate the time to produce quality content for our community. You go to wisdomofthesages.com.
Also, I want to say just yesterday, finally, the Chant Camp registration links are up. So if you want to join Chant Camp over Labor Day weekend at Super Soul Farm, come on up. I'm trying to drag Kaustubha up, but me and Mara will be there. And Bali and Dunya are also going to be there, leading kirtan, teaching kirtan, singing the whole time. Doing a little yoga, eating great food, great way to wind down the summer. That is all.
Yeah, go to raghunath.yoga/events to register.
Yeah, raghunath.yoga/events. Woo. All right.
We got Walk on Wednesday today.
Yeah, one of our favorite people. Matter of fact, me and Mukunda and Mara were in the car, and Kaustubha said, "Hey, who's on Walk on Wednesday?" And we all just said Ann Watson. It just came out of our mouth, like Ann Watson. She's a very lovable lady. Welcome, Ann. Welcome to the show.
Hi. You guys are lovable.
Welcome back.
She made a big splash, right? She made a big splash on our show last time.
Frame this out. What happened last time? What episode was that Ann was on last time?
11:25.
11:25. Was it like a Walk on Wednesday that took up the whole show?
Sorry.
Yeah, it
No,
was.
I
It
think
was
it
so
did,
good
right?
though. Yeah.
It was a moving story. Maybe you want to sum that up quick, Raga.
Yeah. Well, it was, she's happily married with a son, and they have this vineyard in their backyard in the hills in California, Southern California. And her husband came home. It was said, I wasn't feeling well. She encouraged her husband to go to the doctor against his, I don't want to go. They found a tumor the size of like a cannonball in his body, and they gave him this like death sentence. You have like whatever, unless you get
Days.
immediate, right, emergency radiation chemo. Do you want to share a little bit, or we don't have to talk? That's what we're
Yeah.
talking about now. We're talking about the future, but if you want to just wrap that
No,
up.
for sure. Just like a brief summary, I guess, if anybody didn't hear the episode. And thank you. It was cannonball, grapefruit, whatever you'd like to.
Cannonballs were sometimes
Are
as big
about
as
the size of a
grapefruits.
grapefruit.
Yeah.
Softball. Yeah, whatever you want. So yes, Tim was diagnosed with stage 4 stomach cancer, and it had traveled to his liver and his lungs, and the worst was the cancer on his liver, the tumors, and they told him he had days to live. And I guess basically, you can go back and listen to that episode. I won't go into it too much, but I now call that time in my life the hardest, worst, best thing that ever happened to me, which sounds very bizarre, probably, but
Every spiritual person gets it.
right?
Every person connected to spirituality gets it. That gift of pain.
Yes, the gift of pain, the gift. I actually jotted down last night. I was like, okay, I want to try and be succinct so that I don't take over the show this time. So I wrote down there were sort of 4 major things that I learned, and obviously being brought to the path of yoga is ultimately why I'm so grateful that that all happened. But I learned to surrender to the unfolding of life and that I'm not in control.
Nice.
I learned to trust. I definitely learned that we are not our bodies, that
Right.
I say this, I got to see him leave his body, and that was the ultimate lesson.
Wow.
I got to see this, I didn't mention, I don't think, in the other episode, but it ultimately traveled to his brain, and that was what took him. And he was having strokes, and he would come in and out of lucidity, where it was like he'd have his personality, and then he wouldn't, and then he'd know where he is, and then he wouldn't, and he'd be able to write his name, and then he couldn't. And I remember someone saying to me, "Oh, it's so sad, it's not Tim anymore." And that hit me because I went, "Yes, it is." And then I went, "Oh my gosh," because we're not our minds, our brains, our organs.
Wow.
And that was and we're not our thoughts. Our thoughts are just
Deep
these things.
realizations, huh?
But
Yes.
you know, it was still him underneath it all.
It was still him. I'm like, Tim's right there. It's just, yeah, his
Something's
brain
in
isn't
between.
functioning. Right, exactly. And then I guess the other thing that, like, ultimately, and it segues nicely into what we're going to talk about today, was that it ultimately taught me how to love someone unconditionally, as an act of service to something greater than myself. And that it's funny because you mentioned like happily married, and I didn't go into this because I think that at the stage, it was almost exactly a year ago that I was here talking to you guys, and what a beautiful full circle to be here now. There was deep darkness in our marriage that I never admitted and never talked to. And I think that when somebody is first grieving, it's very easy to put someone on a pedestal and idealize something. And that darkness that we had in our marriage really was a lot related to alcohol. And both of us struggled with that. And so, frankly, the gift again of his illness was that alcohol stopped for him completely. And I was drinking for a little bit longer until into the journey I went, I'm not feeling this either, as I found spirituality. So that leads to kind of what we're going to be talking about today.
So you
But
weren't
to love someone oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. So you weren't necessarily a spiritual person, but when this came down, it started making you dig a little deeper.
Extremely, yes. Yeah.
Okay. And this 4 takeaways, because I felt like they were very succinct and very useful and good takeaways for all of us today, were surrender,
Yes.
I'm not this
Of
body.
unfolding. Mhm.
The surrender to the unfolding, which was sort of like acceptance, right? I'm not this body,
Mhm.
which was a good one. What was the second one again?
Not the mind, definitely. Our mind is an organ. Our brain is an organ.
Right, but that wasn't one of them. It was.
It was though.
She
It
wrote them
was.
down right
I
there.
wrote
right
him
there.
down
Okay.
because I got to see him leave his
Let me
body.
tell you your takeaways.
I'm telling you. No, that I got to see him leave his body, so we're not the body. I got to
Right.
watch his mind become diseased, and that we're not our
Okay.
thoughts. That thoughts are
Okay.
things, and that our minds are separate from who we are. And then ultimately, that an experience of pain can become an opportunity to love unconditionally from a mode of service to something greater than yourself. It's not, I wasn't necessarily always doing it for him. I'll be real. He was deeply unpleasant to me a lot of times.
Really? Okay.
Yes. And so it wasn't like, oh, we have this magic,
Magic,
No.
loving, goodbye. It was
There
right,
was
'cause
that. It
people are in
became
pain. If
that.
if I was dying, Mara, I would be yelling at you a lot. Just want to prepare you right now.
Don't you know
He
what
had
I'm going
brain tumors, Prabhu.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it was, yeah, but also, I'll just say this again, just being really vulnerable here. I made that commitment this morning when I came on. I'm like, I'm just going to be vulnerable with you guys this morning. Again, in a mode of service to those and anyone who might hear this, that it can help. That he never loved himself and he never found a spiritual path. And so because of that, there was a deep unhappiness in him up to the minute he left. He was fighting and angry, and it was why is this happening to me? And
Right.
where I was able to offer him that unconditional love and literally hold his hand and sort of see things differently. And we never got to a place where we saw things the same way. Now we do.
Well, and he was successful in many ways. And sometimes when people are externally successful, you can think, well, everything must be rosy.
Right.
And so you have this beautiful, because me and Mukunda went there for dinner, because you are not only a great chef, but you're a food photographer, which we're going to
Mara.
petition her to get Mara's Wisdom of the Sages cookbook done. We're looking forward to that. If you're interested in that Wisdom of the Sages cookbook, say something on the message board right now.
Yes.
But while we were there, they have this beautiful vineyard in their backyard. Alcohol doesn't necessarily go great with your spiritual path. You want to share a little bit about, because you posted something recently. That's what inspired me to reach out to you after we saw you at the Rath Yatra.
Yeah, absolutely. So it really is quite cool because it was your visit, again, about a year ago, you and Mukunda coming over for dinner that planted this little seed in my brain that stuck with me.
What happened?
Okay, you're like, what happened? What magical thing did I say to you, Anne? And you did.
Tell me my words of wisdom.
Your words of wisdom. Well, I guess leading up to that, what had happened, and I'll give a little bit more background, is that we have a vineyard, and that was Tim's job. He ran the vineyard full time. He helped plant it when we moved here in 2014. We had our own wine label, and the label itself, Watson Ranch Vineyards, I mean, it's an LLC. I mean, going through the licensing, all this stuff, it was like, and my vice was wine. Like in our darker times of marriage, he was a beer guy and I was a wine girl, and it was like crack open a bottle every single night, because if you can't beat them, join them was kind of where I was in my darkness. I was asleep. I was numbing myself. I was very unhappy. And alcohol was a way that I escaped. And so it was like, well, let's make a legitimate business out of this, because then it sort of validates my habits and makes it even more socially acceptable.
Yeah.
And again, I want to just say, before I go into any of this, I by no means judge anybody who drinks alcohol, or nor do I personally think that I don't have a problem with others if that's your choice. But for me, it was very, 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 it was an impediment to my growth. And so I just want to put that little caveat in there. But yeah, so as I was carrying on, Tim got sick. What are we going to do with the vineyard? I started running it. It was just like, okay, I've got to keep this business going because this is his legacy. And oh gosh, if he dies, I've got to carry it on to show that I'm like the dutiful wife and our names are on this label and all of this. But 5 years ago, again, when he got sick, I stopped drinking and I was on this completely different path. And it started feeling very disingenuous for me to be modeling like, oh, buy our wine and promoting it and hosting wine dinners and doing this. While at the same time, personally, my heart was just not in it. My passion had completely turned another direction. And so you guys came over for dinner. That's the caveat there. And then, and we were walking through the vineyard and I was like, come and see the grapes and let's go taste them because it was right before harvest and they were delicious. And you
I was eating them.
He was eating them all. Yep.
I was like a little squirrel. Like,
it was the best. And so, but you looked at me and you said, surely there's got to be something you can do with these grapes other than make wine. And I was like, other people had kind of planted that for me, but something about how you said it in that moment when we were eating the grapes. And I was like, huh. So it was a seed that stayed planted in my mind. And then literally that following weekend, as only those who know me well will understand, as only Anne would do, I had a very spiritual experience at a Metallica concert in the pit.
The pit.
In the pit at a Metallica concert.
that's where all realizations come, in the pit.
That's why all the hardcore kids get into Bhakti.
So her son is a guitar prodigy. He's like how old is he? 10-year-old guitar. 10-year-old guitar prodigy.
And yeah, that's a whole other story. But basically, he definitely came in, I think, picking up from a previous lifetime, if you ask me, because he is quite something on guitar. He's and he loves metal. He plays metal. He's into rock and metal, and Metallica is one of our favorite bands. So I took him to his first Metallica show the weekend after I saw you. And we were down in the pit, and I literally felt like I could hear Tim's voice at one point, just being like, the wine isn't my legacy. Our son is.
Wow.
I was watching him just like rocking out and having and smile, and I'm standing there. I'm telling you, spiritual experiences at Metallica. Spirit is everywhere. And I was crying with joy. I just thought, oh my gosh, I don't have to do this. I don't have to do this. Even because I scattered even some of Tim's ashes in the vineyard. Like, it's a very sacred place for me.
Sure.
But what dawned on me was what you said. I didn't have to. I could turn it. I talk about, like, you look at life like a diamond. I'm just going to turn it and look at another facet and see it differently and choose to look at it another way. And yeah, I got home, and the following weekend, I remember I called the winemaker and just said, I'm tapping out. How do I start undoing this?
Wow.
And it was big, and it's been a long sort of 7-8 month process of trying to undo. And there's a grief that comes with it, for sure, because it is so linked to memories of my husband and what his legacy was going to be.
Right.
And now I see, funny enough, I'm flying to Chicago tomorrow to take Russell to a Metallica concert.
What
Very spiritual
realizations
place.
await you?
I tell you, who knows? I'm excited. It's going to be amazing. But it's because now I have freed my time and shifted my priorities to where I'm focused. I'm choosing to focus. I'm not harvesting grapes this fall. I'm going to be attending concerts and supporting my son. And
Maybe you need to speak to Yamuna Jelly.
Sure.
Maybe there's a connection right there, right?
She knows you.
Have you thought about what you want to do with the vineyard?
Well, what is happening right now is a local winery is running it and taking the grapes and making the wine.
Okay.
So I do have someone who's using them. It's just no longer something. Basically, I am putting love and attention and service into the land, and I still live on it. It's my backyard, basically. But yeah, I'm just wide open. Absolutely, even Jelly. I would be open again takeaway number one, I'm surrendering to where this goes and seeing, because I think for a bit there I was scared to do this because a lot of people are afraid to let something go for financial reasons.
Sure.
And it was a big shift. And for me, honoring the truth of my sobriety felt deeply important, as well as honoring my son and his legacy. Yeah.
Right.
This is
Watson
a real
Ranch jellies. What do you think, Raghunath?
some ranch jellies. I was thinking Smuckers. But this is one of these classic things. Like we're holding on to a lot of stuff.
Yes.
Stuff that we've cultivated that didn't necessarily serve us, but it's become part of our identity, part of our persona, part of our false ego, how we present. And then as you go in your spiritual path, you're like, this doesn't fit anymore. This doesn't make sense anymore. I don't want to be this. And so before I can grab something higher, I have to sort of let go what's already in my hands.
Take some courage.
And it's courage because you're letting go of something and you're like, is anything going to be out there to embrace? So it's beautiful to witness that. And when I saw you post that, I was like, whoa, this is getting next level because those are deeply woven in. It was same way when Mara had her catering business and a successful catering business with tons of clients that all ate meat. And then she went through the whole transformation. Like, I have to let go in hopes that I can reach out for something more.
It
So-
sounds like, and it's an extension of the first realization that you had about what was the first one that you said about?
Surrender.
Surrendering to the unfolding of life. It's a
Yeah,
trust.
something's
There's
unfolding.
trust involved, for sure.
To be able to do that, you can't keep holding on to the past. You got to be ready to see where it
Yes.
carries you.
Yes, absolutely. And for it to unfold in ways, I think I'm a very controlling person by nature. And I like to plan and I want to know where things are headed. And I think that I do this all the time. I probably look like a crazy person. It's like a way that I go, okay, let go, Anne. Like I'm trying so hard to let go.
I'm going to do that too.
Letting go, because I mean, my gosh, if letting, a person you're married to for 15 years go doesn't teach you how to let go and see the blessings in something and what's possible when you do, I don't know what could. So it does. You're absolutely right. It feels like, I felt like I was dragging this bag of rocks around with me, that I was sort of just collecting this stuff. And it's like, yeah, we don't need to do that.
Lesson learned.
Lesson, beautiful, beautiful. Because there's a lot of bitterness that can be there too. The bitterness, anger, why me? And you somehow flipped it and saw the blessing, and it's quite impressive and inspiring for our community to hear. I'm glad you're part of our community. You lift us up when we see you, Prabhu.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm honored to be on today. Thank you for asking me.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Ann.
Walk on Wednesdays are great. We're looking forward to Watson Family Jelly or Watson Family non-alcoholic wine.
Watson Ranch.
Grape
Yeah,
juice.
fresh
I think that's
squeeze.
called grape juice.
Yeah, they call that grape juice.
Yum.
Thank you, and love to your son. And
Thank you.
rock out. Maybe meet up with Laura from Chicago. She's on the show today. She's here today. We've got Zoomers all over the place and others all over the place.
Love it.
So have a great show and have more spiritual realizations in the pit.
I will.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right.
Oh, that was nice. That was nice. This is tough stuff. Yeah, I'm always impressed when these people are just to let go of something that's that big.
Not
is
easy.
It's not easy. It's not
We
easy.
gotta take it for granted that our spiritual life's gonna involve some courage. Taking
Yeah.
a few risks. That's gonna be there.
And we're bumping to some forks. And like,
Forks.
I got to go north here. She also said this very interesting thing about alcohol. And like, it was part of like, what we did. And I was a wine girl and he was a beer guy. But, there's a lot of backstory with that as well. That is not on the surface. It's like, it's a party. It's fun. Hey, let's wind down. That's the
Darkness
surface.
underneath.
That's the surface. And she had the insight to see it as that. That there is a darkness. It is masking something. And then with a vineyard, you could be like, yeah, it almost romanticizes the whole thing. A vineyard. Come to my vineyard, Kostuba. Oh, we have a 1962 bottle of Chardonnay. I think you would like it. It's almost like it's almost like you're so uncultured. I gotta become more cultured. Prabhupada said, in the West, you become refined at the culture of tamas and rajas. We're refining tamas, tamagun, and rajasgun, the mode of passion and the mode of ignorance. You hear people say that with whiskey, don't you? Like, oh, this is a very smooth whiskey.
Smooth.
Kostuba, you should try
Aged.
it.
It's aged.
It's an aged
smooth,
whiskey, Kostuba. It's got a very subtle
smoky flavor.
It's a smoky flavor. Or this is a fine Cuban cigar, Kostuba. It's like we have to
Rich in flavor.
Right. You have to develop a palate for the mode of ignorance. And the problem with the mode of ignorance is it can historically dismantle your life.
I remember on that show, Mad Men. Like he's a big advertising guy, and they got their biggest client is like a cigarette company, and all of the research and government information is coming down how it's like smoking causes cancer, and so they're like, what do we do now with our campaign? Everybody, and then they can't figure out any way to frame it.
How can we respin this?
and then, but at a certain point, like the main character goes like, well, the thing is like all your competitors have the same problem, but they're going to be busy trying to convince everybody like that this isn't so bad that it gives you cancer. It's not as bad as they say. But he said, but we can look at it a different way. And then he just said, tell me how you make the cigarettes. Like, what do you do? Well, first we grow the tobacco, then we harvest it, and we dry it, then we toast it, then we do it. He goes, hold it right there. And he writes on the board, it's toasted. And like it was just that word, you just had to, it just shows like how does the mind work? And toasted, that sounds nice and warm and nice flavor to it. And we'll just say it's toasted. And our tobacco is toasted. It's like, yeah, well, they all toast it. It doesn't matter it's just like we just say it's toasted. But the mind works that way. Even things that are harmful to us or painful to us that causes suffering,
we romanticize it.
Yeah, we romanticize it.
We survive in a world of romanticizing stuff that doesn't give what we think it should give. We have plans, ideas, the hobbies. It doesn't pay off.
There's a jnanic kind of aspect, to yoga practice. This analysis, right, where you kind of cut through the sentimentality. Say, no, it's not toasted. That's not the point here. It's like so. Yeah, sometimes we need to apply that and slice a little. Slice a little off and say, let's get down to truth here. And then have the courage to make a step. So I appreciate what Anne's doing.
Me too.
All right,
Okay,
you ready to
friend.
get into?
Are you ready to dive in the Srimad-Bhagavatam?
I really am.
We're heading back today. About to hit a plane soon. A couple hours. Going to go for a little morning hike.
I hope it goes smooth for you, Rugga.
Thank you.
And Mara?
An intelligent man, Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam madirayat. Before reciting the Srimad-Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, to Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayesh vabhadreshu nuchim bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama bhaktir bhavati naistiki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome in the heart will become eradicated, and loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Agyana Timarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksuran Madatam Nena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My teachers are opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet.
Yeah.
Reading from the Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 14, Text 6.
Let's have a quick recap here, Rugga.
Cap it.
Then we got Narada, the great sage, speaking to the great King Yudhishthira. And in previous chapters, we've heard about the directions for renunciates. Now we're hearing directions for householders, people that live at home, people with family, and all that. And he kind of opened up by saying that, we have a tendency to be affected. He uses the word affection, but right, we become affected by the comforts of home, by the physical connection with our spouse, and so on. And that this can condition us to seek happiness through externals and miss the goal of human life, to find the eternal happiness that's within us all. Rather than husband and wife helping each other find that, together we search for it outside or from each other, and ultimately become disappointed in some way. So he says, but the way to live in that circumstance and not become affected or conditioned by it is by hearing Bhagavatam again and again and again, right? Contemplating these truths on a daily basis, engaging with this sacred ancient vibration, this literature. And then he said something in the last verse that was really interesting, which was, the question then becomes, well, and this is really, really relevant for us and for our listeners, I think, a lot of our listeners especially. But what's being shown here is that this was even millennia ago, this was an issue. It's not just a modern thing. Like, I got into bhakti, but my spouse isn't so into it, or my family isn't so into it, or in my workplace, nobody understands it. How do you deal with that when you're practicing bhakti in the atmosphere, in the circumstance of you're surrounded by people that don't practice it or don't understand it? How do you respond? And our tendency might be, well, you lecture them, you correct them, you cut them off,
chastise them, shame them,
speak down to them. Yeah,
shame them works well.
And he gives a very different idea. He gives a kind of like, the idea that he's sharing here is more like how to just navigate around it with some diplomacy, right? Which is just like how to find don't create obstacles. And so in the last text, he said, while working to earn their livelihood as much as necessary to maintain body and soul together. So simplicity is being recommended here too, right?
Yeah.
Get as much as you need, don't overextend. One who is actually learned should live in human society, unattached from family affairs, although externally appearing very much attached. It's like saying, you don't have to, you can just kind of move through this world, and in a sense, something's going on within you that nobody's even aware of. And he's going to double down on that, go a little bit deeper into this next text, which is our first text for today. Text number 6.
An intelligent man in human society should make his own program of activities very simple. If there are suggestions from his friends, children's parents, brothers, or anyone else, he should externally agree, saying, yes, that is all right. But internally, he should be determined not to create a cumbersome life in which the purpose of life will not be fulfilled. He's see what happens. It's not like he's being duplicitous. I think he's realizing with intelligence that these people want stuff of this world.
Mm-hmm.
And he's stepping back saying those things will not satisfy it. But, oh, yes, it's sort of like appeasing them with words. But really realizing that, it's just complicating your life. Yes, complicating your life more and more. We were talking about RVs yesterday, recreational vehicles. RVs. Winnebago Warrior.
Winnies. I saw one.
Mini
Winnie.
What was the thing you said was Mukunda was the RV stands for ruined vacation, because there's so many things that can go wrong on them. And he was sharing one story. What happened? The slider that pops out would not pop back in, so he couldn't do anything. Couldn't go anywhere. He couldn't drive with it. And then, of course, and it's a huge investment, and there's millions of things that can go wrong.
And somebody's saying, why don't we get a Winnebago? Yeah, that's a great idea.
Well, because I've walked in RV lots, and they're exciting. It's like, this is like a house. It's like your own
wheels.
It's on wheels, and you can go into the forest and bring your cabin with you wherever you go. Then there's also the boats. My friend who had a boat said and this is a famous saying, that The two best days for a boat owner are the day you buy it
and the day you
and the
sell
day
it.
you sell it. Because with it comes, I got to store the boat. I got to store the boat in the winter. I got to make sure there's nothing wrong with the boat. Because Mara's not home right now. She's got a building. She's got a house and another house. And this other house, her kitchen's got a leak in it. So it's like it's just like so much worry that comes with stuff. And in the back of our mind, we're thinking, well, this is going to be great. This is going to give me so much pleasure. But there's always a payback. So the thoughtful people say, you know what? Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Keep it simple.
And you noticed here also, Raghunath, when someone like, it's just real common, like when someone from the West, they first get into the spirituality, it's not like you grow up in it and it's kind of like a normal thing.
Right.
When you get into spirituality, it's like, oh, I'm getting into this alternative thing. And it's common that the externals of that alternative, we may be just as much into that as we are into the substance of it all. So there's a lot of pretentiousness. Oh, I'm going to wear these spiritual clothes. I'm going to wear, when I get the spiritual tattoo, and I'm going to use some spiritual terms. I'm going to walk around being all spiritual and look how spiritual I am. Right? Whereas this is saying, no, you can, like it said, that you should, one who is actually learned should live in human society unattached internally, although externally appearing very much attached. It's like, don't even pose as spiritual, don't even
appear attached.
Yeah, that'll actually help you be deeply spiritual. Like,
right. Because part of our ego, we don't just want to switch egos.
Yeah.
We want to actually understand that we don't want to present as something that we are not to get validation from my community. Oh, look, Raghunath's so spiritual now. I can tell by his beard.
Sometimes
his hair is so,
look at how
so nice now.
Spiritual. That beard is like
his
so
spiritual hair.
It's crazy. He's got those big beads on around his neck.
Those big beads make him more spiritual. Where can I buy those beads? We want to purchase our spirituality, don't we? It was such a consumer
If only we're
culture.
that simple.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say when I go to a temple, first stop is that gift shop. Gift shop. What do they got here? What's in that gift shop here? They got anything unique here?
So, I was going to say something. What was it? That you're okay. So you're posing as you're like, you're like a common materialist. You got absolutely nothing to kind of prove externally, and it's kind of facilitating your steadiness in this. Like, it's kind of like saving you from wasting time debating with everyone or getting in. It's like you're kind of saying, yeah, oh, that's fine. We can do that. We can do that.
Yeah, I do that with politics. People who try to like put forth their political statement with me, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I understand. It's just like,
yeah. You just let it. Yeah, that's right. I'm going to avoid exactly. I'm going to avoid the long, drawn out, time wasting, energy sucking conversation.
Exhausting. That
like
we're going to fix things sitting here in the car.
Right.
We can figure out the world after all. I am a genius. I'm just waiting for to ask me.
So, yeah, certainly this one side of the whole thing, we should get really enthusiastic about that and ignore the other sides. But yeah, so it's just some practical advice here. You don't have to appear externally spiritual at all, but internal. Oh, that's what I was thinking. Prabhupada shared this. He would sometimes share this analogy of like a woman with a paramour lover, right? Married woman, paramour lover.
Mm-hmm.
So at home, she doesn't want to appear like her mind's always thinking of her lover.
Mm.
So she's kind of even being more careful to do her duties around the home. Like, she doesn't want her husband to say, like, what's with you lately? Like,
so you're saying if your partner is acting very normal and healthy and happy,
look out.
Most likely she's got some lover.
What's Mara up to?
Yeah, I've noticed everything seems wonderful.
A little too wonderful, Mara.
What?
Yeah. So that it's, he was saying that if a woman has a paramour lover, she's like extra careful to do everything around the home like really well. And but internally, always meditating on her lover. So like a spiritualist can be like that too, that externally we're very responsible and dutiful and taking care of everything. It's not like because we got spiritual, suddenly we became negligent in our duties. But as we carry out those duties, even better than we were at them before, we're doing it internally, always meditating on our Lord in the heart.
That was nice.
All right.
All right, continuing on.
7.
The natural products created by the Supreme Personality of Godhead should be utilized to maintain the bodies and souls of all living entities. The natural products.
And the resources.
Tom's toothpaste.
The resources.
The necessities of life are of 3 types. Those produced from the sky, from rainfall, from the earth, from mines, the seas, or the fields, or from the atmosphere, that which is obtained suddenly and unexpectedly. What?
Well, it's getting into the resources that we have. When you all the renunciates, whether it's the brahmachari, the vanaprastha, the sannyasi, they're not out there. They're not like the what's the word? Administrators.
Manufacturers.
Yeah, manufacturers or administrators of all of the produce, all of the resources. They kind of just like, give me a little resource and I'll survive off of what tiny little thing there is.
Right.
Whereas the householders, they're really kind of like I don't know what the right word is, but like I don't even say like the bread basket or something like that. They're the real providers, you know, they're ones
creating, they're farming, they're building.
Yeah, they're banking, they're trading, they're doing all these things.
Hmm.
And we're going to, so then obviously like that's potentially, you know, attachments develop there, which will become problematic for deeper spiritual growth. So now Narada's getting into dealing with these resources, how we utilize them, how the householder relates to them, thinks about them, engages these resources.
Woo.
Text 8.
Sorry. Text 8. One may claim proprietorship to as much wealth as required to obtain body and soul together. Saying like, keep it simple.
Keep it simple again.
Enough is enough. But one who desires proprietorship over more than that must be considered a thief, and he deserves to be punished by the laws of nature.
So greed becomes, you know, the subject here, right? That one has to be really careful about taking more than they need. It's not even just more than I need, but there's an attitude. You know, that attitude is spoken about in the Ishopanishad, you know, Isavashamidam Sarvam, that we need to kind of see that like my basic needs, that's my quota. You know, everything animate or inanimate that is within this universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. I didn't create the food that grows out of my farm. That's like God provides that. Yeah.
It's hard to save money reading the Bhagavatam.
Save money?
It's hard to save money, prepare for your future reading the Bhagavatam. You feel like, whatever.
It said one should therefore accept only those things necessary for themselves, which are set aside as their quota, and one should not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. Right? None of this belongs to me. One may aspire to live for hundreds of years if he continually goes on working in that way, for that sort of work will not bind him to the law of karma. There is no alternative to this way for man. That's the only way to live in this world without getting sucked down.
This is like reminds me of the New Testament.
New Testament.
Yeah, they say, what do you need? Aren't the animals taken care of? The birds taken care of? The deer
That's in the New
taken care of?
Testament?
Yeah.
Sounds like second canto of Bhagavatam. Nice.
Sounds like it. Yeah.
We're going to hear more that, you know.
A lot of commonalities, Kastuba.
Well, speaking of animals.
Give Jesus a chance.
You know, once someone was getting married, one of Prabhupada's disciples was getting married, and so they asked Prabhupada, you know, what is the duty for a householder? What is the duty for a married couple? Do you know what he said?
What?
He said, and he said this, and they kind of thought, oh, like he's speaking in some kind of figurative way or something like that. He said, before every meal, you should go outside of your house and call out, if anybody's hungry, we have food right now. If anybody's hungry, we have food. And they're kind of like, yeah, okay, that's an interesting
Okay,
story.
but
Yeah,
really, what do you want us to do?
Yeah, but the idea is, again, the brahmachari, they're not responsible for providing for the community that needs it, nor the sannyasis. They're the beggars, you know. But when you're in that position where you get the most facility for material enjoyment, for sex, for money, for the comforts of home, that's exactly when you're supposed to turn your attention to taking care of others. That you're the ones that are generating the wealth, and you're the ones at that stage of life that need to kind of provide for anybody in need. You know, I think, is it even here in this commentary where Prabhupada uses a term where he says, I wonder if it's in this commentary. He says that like householders are like, he uses the word communists, right?
What?
Yeah, he uses the word communist. But, you know, I think, again, like the way that Prabhupada used that word, like communists, right? Like, what does it mean to commune? Mara, could you look up the word commune? But, you know, in other words, thinking not in terms of like, I'm an island, right? We think, okay, now I'm going to make money. I'm going to buy my own house. I'm going to do my own things. I don't have to deal with anybody. No, no, no. When you're in that position, you have to start to think of everyone else and how you provide for them.
All right. Commune. Let's see. Definition 1 is talk over or discuss. Definition 2, the smallest administrative district of many countries, especially in Europe.
I think we need a verb.
Yeah, the first, to communicate intimately.
To
As in
communicate intimately? Yeah, that's one
Yeah,
way.
as in commune with nature.
That's, I think, more what we're talking. But does it have anything to do with society?
I don't see it in this definition. But I'll keep
Commune.
looking.
A noun. Where's the verbs here? The smallest. That's commune.
Our message board always beats us. Come together. Communicate. Community.
To come together?
Yeah.
Commune. Come together. Community. Yeah. Commune. Def. See what else we got. Merriam-Webster. To receive communion. To communicate intimately. You know, I think, you know, I'm not finding the definition, exactly what I'm looking for, but like, it has to do with community, that you're thinking in terms of community rather than thinking in terms of individually. Right?
Sure.
So in that sense, a communist is one whose awareness is focused on the community, on the broader group, rather than their own individual concerns. So when you become a householder, the idea is at this stage in life, you didn't have to worry about this as a brahmachari, and you won't have to think so much about this in your retired life. But when you're the guy making all the money, and when you're the guy that's enjoying the pleasures of, you know, sex and money and comforts of home and all of that, then you're meant to be focused on the community and making sure that they're all provided for. So you're not just working for yourself when you're working, but you're working for everyone else. And that's about to come up in the next verse.
Jolly Lama says it comes from the Latin word communis.
Common,
which
shared,
means-
general, public. Yeah.
Yeah, common, shared,
Yeah.
general, or public.
Yeah, there
All
we
right.
go.
Thank you, Lama.
Next verse.
Text 8. Text 9. One should treat animals such as deer, camel, asses, monkeys, mice, snakes, birds, and flies. I wish they didn't say flies, but yes, flies too. Exactly like one's own son. How little difference there actually is between children and these innocent animals.
They need care.
Snakes too, Mara.
Even a little snake.
Even the flies. Yeah. Even if one is a householder rather than a brahmachari, a sannyasi, or a vanaprastha, one should not endeavor very hard for religiosity, economic development, or satisfaction of the senses. Even in householder life, one should be satisfied to maintain body and soul together with whatever is available with minimum endeavor, according to place and time, by the grace of the Lord. One should not engage oneself in ugra karma. Ugra karma means horrible works meant to destroy the world.
Hmm.
right?
So, yeah, so we're getting a steady message of simplicity and caring for others. That this is, being deeply spiritual within, but appearing like, materially expert externally, and caring for others. I think there's more on that in text 11.
Yeah.
Dogs are mentioned a couple of times.
Dogs, fallen persons, right? Untouchables, right? Including dog eaters, should all be maintained with their proper necessities.
You got to take care of the dog. You got to take care of the dog eater. But don't take care of the dog eater by giving him a dog to eat.
I know.
Separate those two.
Keep those two apart. Hey, where's all the dogs? Ah, the dog eaters. Which should be, I wonder what's like why am I thinking like that?
Don't think like that, Roger. I don't know what it was, but don't think like that. Okay, dogs, fallen persons, and untouchables.
Dogs, fallen persons, untouchables, including dog
the
eaters,
chandalas,
should be
dog eaters.
maintained with their proper necessities, except dogs, which should be contributed by householders. Even one's wife at home, with whom one is the most intimately attached, should be offered for the reception of guests and people in general. Offered.
Yeah, meaning that we're both in this together, like serving to take care of others. It's not like you're my wife and you serve me. It's like together we serve society.
Okay. Text 12. One so seriously considers one's wife to be his own that he sometimes kills himself for her or kills others, including even his parents or his spiritual master or teacher.
Oh, getting dark here.
Let's end on a real dark note. Therefore, if one can give up his attachment to such a wife, he conquers the supreme personality of Godhead, who's never conquered by anyone.
Okay. So
That
in other
means
words,
every attachment of our family has to not be seen as ours. It has to be seen as we're passengers here. And our mind, our thoughts, our bodies should be used for God. It's not mine. Nothing is mine here.
Yeah, and this is what one might consider what they want to be theirs more than anything, right? Like my spouse is mine, and saying if you can conquer that illusory external need, then you conquer Krishna.
What is jealousy births from?
Because there's nothing of this world that
actually your wife is Krishna's.
There you go.
So yeah, she's Krishna. So every time you're trying to claim her as yours, you're trying to steal from Krishna. Treat her like Krishna. Treat everybody that comes to you like they're Krishna's children. You treat your children like they're Krishna's children. Treat your pets.
Even the dog eater.
Even the dog eater. Treat them like Krishna.
Well, why don't you read one more verse? Because I think that'll wrap up the
text 13. Through proper deliberation, one should give up attraction to his wife's body. So that lust has to be gone, because that body will ultimately be transformed into small insect stool and ashes.
That's what's going to happen.
They always use these type of, sort of like Shakespeare does too, right? We're food for worms, Shakespeare would say. What is the value of this insignificant body? How much greater is the Supreme Being, who is all pervading like the sky? You have to give up lust. Yeah, eventually you should, maybe it's not going to happen today, but you have to see down the line, like lust will not ever be satisfied.
But you got to start working on it today.
You got to start working on it. You got to see the body itself. You got to see the body for what it is. And how even the ideas of the pleasure of the body are fabricated in the mind. We got to practice that, and we have to read. We have to practice that, and we have to read. And that's how we develop detachment.
As brahmacharis, we're trained, what was it, 6 different ways that one can thinking about sex, engaging in sex. It's like
dallying.
Dallying.
These are like
six
types of sex life.
And right there, we got the train that you can't even, like one would say, like, oh man, like I got to control myself sexually. Yeah, well, not just the action, but even your mind, because it's all meant to go back to your mind. It's the mind that's where the real difference is made. And so I just saw a quote just yesterday from Indra Prabhu, like inspiring. One of the ultimately the great kirtan leaders of his era. and but also like real inspiring renunciate, you know. And he just said, you can't, I forget exactly how he said it, but more or less he said, you can't have sexual fantasies and Krishna at the same time. It's going to be like one or the other, you know, like, in other words, if you want to, if it's Krishna you want, if you want to reconnect with God, that's got to become the sole desire that dominates your heart. And so that means, you know, we let go of not even the activities of lust, but the thoughts. And that has to do, you know, it sounds impossible because the atmosphere that we're in and the way that we're raised, it just makes the mind go to sex all the time. You know, for men, you know, every time they look at a woman, they're kind of just like, even if they're not crude and doing it externally, it's hard not to internally, you know, think of them in in a sexual context. But for the real yogi, for the spiritualist, for the Bhakti-yogi, they don't allow the mind to go there, and you just kind of you just do not allow it. And gradually the mind surrenders, you know, like gradually the mind just says, okay, I guess I'm not allowed to go there anymore. Just like a dog gets trained, yeah, I guess I'm not allowed to go there anymore. And you just kind of draw that line. That will open up your mind and your heart, you know, to go deeper and deeper and deeper into this. Otherwise, you're just going to get fizzled out, you know?
Fizzled out. It's takeaway time, my friend. Takeaway goodies to put in our pocket, carry with us in the course of the day. I'll be back at Super Soul Farm tomorrow. Are we doing a show tomorrow?
9 o'clock again, though, right?
Yeah, 9 a.m. Eastern time.
Yeah, soft landing. Thank you, because we get in at midnight.
Yeah. Okay, I got some good takeaways today.
What you got?
Surrender to the unfolding and trust.
Raghunath managed not to go into cheap trick there. Excellent.
I'm not this body. I'm not this mind.
I'm something divine.
Love unconditionally as an act of service.
Yep.
Was not this body, not this mind, something divine? Was that a Raghu original, or did you?
That was a Raghu original. Thank you. I'm not this body. I'm not this mind. I'm something divine.
I saw you breaking that out during your asana class the other day.
You like that?
It was nice. You had that. Yeah, you're doing good there with that class. It's nice.
Like he's copying somebody. He didn't come up with a genius aphorism. I did.
I have it on a tank top.
Mara's got it on a tank top. There's a movie by Tom Essig, Something Divine.
It's made.
Spiritual life takes courage.
It sure does.
These are all coming from Ann Watson, the takeaways.
Yep. Tamaguna can dismantle your life.
Tamaguna.
Thoughtful people keep it simple.
Yep.
Give Jesus a chance.
Yeah, Kostuba. Open your heart a little bit.
I give Jesus a chance.
No, I'm serious.
Me too.
Use it all for God and just be a passenger.
Yep.
Start working now to give up lust.
Kostuba, I can help
Right
you.
now, Raghu.
I can help you.
Now.
Talk.
Stop it, Raghunath. Just
Call me after the show. I can help. I can help.
Okay.
And deep realizations come in the pit.
Oh,
Deep realizations come to cry. How about don't cry? How about cry in the Metallica pit? But not
Cry
out of
in the
pain.
pit?
Cry in the pit. We're crying. We're
There's
crying.
some tears in the pit shed before, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I always love your story, your first time there in the pit, Raghunath.
Oh yeah. When John
You said
Watson
it.
almost punched me in the head.
You said, I'm new to this. I'm sorry.
I'm new to this. I don't know what to do. And Watson's down there with me crying. I'm in the pit slamming people. John Watson's out there punching people. Thanks everybody for joining us. Chant Camp's on. It's live on Raghunath.yoga. Check that out. We also have Wisdom of the Sages retreat that is happening, and that is over Columbus Day weekend. Is it Columbus Day or? Yes.
Indigenous
people, depending on how you want to celebrate it. And what else do we have to say?
I mean, if you come up with a PC name, come up with one that works. Like indigenous people, you know, it's like
Indigenous people. These
one.
are going to roll off. Indigenous
It doesn't roll
people.
off. Yeah.
Which indigenous people?
I assume the American indigenous people.
Where did they get it from? Were they always there? Always?
I don't know.
Didn't they conquer anyone to get that land? The problem is there's
Conquer each
always
other.
blood on somebody's hand when it comes to real estate. Think about that, Mara.
If Rogan
Okay,
ever
we gotta go. We
becomes a
went
real estate
overboard.
broker, that'll be on your card. Roganath, real estate broker, there's blood on my hands. And there will be on yours.
There's always blood on real estate purchasers' hands. Thanks, everybody. It is a beautiful day. Thanks to Ann Watson for joining us, giving us some wisdom, shooting Mara's cookbook.
Hey, you got to say hi to little Midori over there. She's dancing. She's saying hello.
Muscle.
Are you there?
Ah, there's Midori.
Yeah.
Shout out and prayers to all the devotees in Bangladesh who are going through hell right now. And shout out and prayers to everybody at Sharanagati Farm in Vancouver. That wildfire swept through and destroyed a bunch of houses. So people that we know, a lot of love and prayers going out to them. Oh, people, listen, it's Wednesday. It's a beautiful day. Do your best. Reach out. Give some love to people. Give some light to people. It's a dark world.
Even
You
the
can
dog
do
eaters.
it. Be the change. Be the light. Be the hope. Safe flight. Hare Krishna.